That was the wonderful Navara in A-flat by Isaac Albéniz, all performed by Australian-born pianist Tony Lee. Hey, thank you, Tony, for doing such a wonderful performance.
It's my pleasure, Annabelle.
Now, these three pieces, have got such a broad range of emotions. Why did you choose these ones?
Yeah, they're completely different pieces. These composers, Schubert, Scriabin in particular, these are composers that are very close to my heart. I loved listening to them when I was studying. I was at university. Schubert, only, I think in the last couple of years, I started really digging into. Schubert and Beethoven are probably two of my favorite composers. It's interesting, sometimes when you close your eyes and you listen to a Schubert string quartet or Beethoven symphony, or even a Schubert symphony, you're hard-pressed to find a difference between the two. They're very similar, very similar. But
similar between string quartet and orchestra?
I think the way they viewed music was very similar, but the approach was very different. We hear a lot of Schubert's influences on Beethoven, actually. For example, his fourth piano concerto, his later piano sonatas especially. So I think it was through Beethoven that I found Schubert. And now I'm totally in love with it. This impromptu, it's the first of four, and written, I think, in his final year of his life.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. I mean, there's so much love, so much emotion, so much also pain, and a lot of understanding also. I think that's the main difference with Schubert and Beethoven, coming back to Beethoven. I think Beethoven was always kind of struggling and fighting and pushing, whereas Schubert kind of just accepted the pain.
It's funny, we don't often think about what is influencing Beethoven because he's such a trailblazer in himself,
absolutely.
isn't he?
Yes.
And what about Albéniz as well?
Albéniz was, he has wonderful piano music, as you mentioned earlier, Iberia, the pianos, this particular piece, Navarre, it's so difficult.
I can see your fingers were going nuts, like all over the place. It was crazy.
I was shocked when I got the score, because this piece is not really, I hadn't really known it before. I heard a recording with Arthur Rubinstein, and I was just absolutely blown away. And then I was like, this is it would be a great encore kind of piece also,
Well, it's a pretty serious encore.
Yeah, but I got the score and I think I almost gave up.
Your eyes popping out. Yeah. Like Arthur Rubinstein can do it with no problem at all. Yeah, I can do that.
Excellent.
So the emotions in each of these different pieces, you are connected to these pieces, so it's easy to interpret. But when you're given a piece by an orchestra, when you're going to go off and do a concert solo, how is it that you connect to a piece of music that you may not be emotionally relating to?
I think if we're given a score or if we decide to play a certain piece, I'm sure at some point the connection comes. We're so lucky nowadays, we have access to all this wonderful media and recordings, and we can hear great artists performing all the pieces that we know of. Actually, there was a piano concerto commissioned for me to play a few years ago, and in the beginning, of course, it was music that was totally new to me, totally foreign to me. I only had a MIDI file to work on, to listen to, and I had the score, and it was very difficult, and I think emotionally I was very stressed, and I think I was just more focused about the analysis of the piece in the very beginning, and then I played through, and after some time it comes, because I think great music has this kind of ability, has this language, has this vocabulary, and we're familiar with it, and
it's probably what makes it stay, isn't it? What makes it last for hundreds of years is when there's something to grab hold of emotionally.
I think so. With all these scores, the composer tries to write some expressive markings or what he or she would have liked in the score, but a lot of it isn't written down. So I think a lot of it comes down to experience and whatever, but I think the greatest music will always live on because the emotion is there.
And it's almost reading between the lines, isn't it, to find your interpretation?
I don't believe in there's only one way to do a certain thing. Personally, I've had pieces I've played throughout the years and the interpretation changes. The emotion varies. It doesn't necessarily change. But there's a lot of other elements involved. It's not just emotion. There's texture. There's color, which is we're constantly struggling with the piano because it's a percussion instrument. So apart from the emotion, we're always trying to find new colors, new sounds, new kind of ways of expressing this wonderful music. So
But there are so many sounds you can bring out of it, is what it sounded like to me.
So I mean, the Schubert and the Scriabin, it's totally different, two
Yeah.
different worlds. I mean, the Scriabin, you put it brilliantly. I mean, it's complete madness, this piece. And Scriabin himself, he associated with his synesthesia, he associated different colors with different key tonalities. So if a piece was in a certain piece, he'd see a certain color. Blue is, I think...
Makes his own color therapy out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I also don't experience any type of synesthesia, but I also have a very strong feeling that when I'm playing a piece, I see a lot of color, I see a lot of kind of shapes and a lot of movement. This is kind of what guides me, when I play. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
It's always interesting to hear.
Yeah.
So where are you off to next? You came back from Portugal?
Yes, I'm having a little bit of a break now.
Yeah.
It was a bit unfortunate because I had a couple of concerts in February this month planned, actually, but due to the coronavirus... Up in China, they've been cancelled. But I mean, it's health and safety first.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, it's lovely to have you back again, because it was September we spoke, I think.
That's right, yes.
Last year, really
How time
lovely.
flies.
Yes, indeed. And we actually get to hear you play this time, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you, Annabelle.